morning, it's crazy how quiet it is. But for the bang of the stun grenades, you can't hear much. And in distance, I can hear people yelling now. I can hear people yelling. I'm moving closer into the cloud.
What's your estimate, Tremaine, if you have any idea, of how many people are in this crowd, remaining in this crowd at this time?
There would have been maybe 150, maybe 200, perhaps a little more, up to 225 or 250, maybe at most. But they're scattered about, so some people are starting to go home before the last of the warnings from police. I can see a gas mask. The police are wearing gas masks.
Okay, Tremaine, stay on the line. We're going to come back to you. We're joined now by Casey Nolan. He is a reporter with NBC's KSDK station in St. Louis. Casey, what's your understanding of what the police maneuvers are about tonight and why they're attempting to obviously move that crowd that Tremaine Lee is in now?
Well, I can tell you this all started about the time the sun went down, and earlier today the police chief of Ferguson said he wasn't an order, but it was a request that the peaceful protest be over with by dark. And I can tell you about the time it got dark is about the time that all this activity started. The stun grenades or whatever it is that your other guest was hearing, and I can tell you we're about a quarter mile away and we can hear those here. We're at the police command area. As to why they are using this particular amount of force or this particular amount of effort, earlier today we talked to the St. Louis County police chief who is overseeing this effort from a county perspective, and he said there are a lot of good people living in a good community and they deserve to be safe, and it's their responsibility to keep them safe.
Casey, what do you know about the local police practices in these kinds of situations? I understand this particular situation has probably never occurred there in recent times, but for example, these stun grenades, what is the police theory of how they think a stun grenade, an explosion, what seems to be a bomb going off, somehow helps in crowd control and calms people down?
Well, I can tell you what they think about their job that they've done so far. The chief, again, said that he was amazed and inspired by the amount of restraint that his officers and all the officers from all the different jurisdictions that are here as a part of this group, he was amazed and inspired by the amount of restraint that they had shown. We actually had an officer-involved shooting early this morning around 1 a.m. Police say that suspect had a gun and pointed it at a police officer. That man was shot and is now in critical condition. And the chief said, to be honest, it was his fear since Saturday afternoon, right after word came that Michael Brown had been shot. He said it was his fear since then that something like that would happen, and he was amazed it hadn't happened so far. So he was praising the officers here for their restraint. As for their tactics, I can also tell you, you're right, not in recent memory. The chief said he's been doing this for 28 years. Not only has he never experienced anything like this, he says he's never even heard of anything like this in the St. Louis area, and he says they have not been able to even drill for anything like this.
Casey, what is your understanding of what the police theory is about this so-called curfew and where they get the authority? Where do the police believe they have the authority to enforce a curfew?
Well, I will tell you, as of about an hour or an hour and a half ago, there was officially no curfew. They said very clearly that this was a suggestion. This was what they would like to see happen, that people cease their protests by sundown. We asked the county police chief if he was planning on an official curfew, and he said that that really didn't help him much because he felt like the people who were, in his words, causing the problems at these protests wouldn't obey a curfew anyway, and that it would actually have a negative impact on people that he said would be taking the bus home, trying to get to and from work. So he didn't really feel like a curfew, as of about an hour and a half ago, was an option for him that he was even considering. We did ask him if he was going to bring in the National Guard. He said he was considering that, but then that presented more of a management issue. But he had some benefits in his mind in terms of manpower.
And Casey, quickly, we're going to take a break, but quickly, what is the police theory about their constitutional right to break up any free assembly of people that they seem to choose at any time to do?
Well, I'll do my best to speak for the police chief in that I believe once you had a gas station burned down and once you had several numerous businesses broken into and looted, he feels like he has a responsibility to the homes that are just outside the zone that you're seeing on TV across the country and across the world, where you see the burned buildings, where you see the broken-in windows. There are some very solidly middle-class, nice homes, not that that matters one way or another, that are just outside the view of most of the cameras, and the chief feels he also has a responsibility to protect those people.